and haven't seen me do this, or you forgot how I do it, it's pretty simple. I write down the top 10 win percentages and the top 10 use percentages for each mode in Brawl Stars. I write down 5 brawlers that are in both the top 10 of win and use percentages and present them to you as the meta brawlers, giving higher priority to the brawlers that have the higher win percentages. And should not enough brawlers fall in both of the lists, I extend it down to the top 15. So these videos tend to be a little bit longer, so I try to only do 2 modes at once. So today we're going to focus on Gem Grab and Brawl Ball. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get started with the honorable mentions for Gem Grab. So the first brawler for honorable mentions is going to be Bo. Right now, Bo has the 11th highest win rates in Gem Grab and the 2nd highest use rates. So those are really good stats, especially considering that Bo's use rates are at 7%, which is really, really high. But because his win rates are only at 11th, I can't put him in the top 5 for the meta brawlers. Alright, the next honorable mention is going to be Sandy. Sandy has the 6th highest win rates and the 13th highest use rates in Gem Grab. Sandy's a super solid support/lane brawler in Gem Grab, and I would say he's pretty map independent, so if you want to push Sandy and you want to play Gem Grab, go ahead and do it no matter what the map is. And the last honorable mention is going to be Pam. Pam has the 7th highest win rates in Gem Grab and the 12th highest use rates. Pam's pretty much a staple in these Gem Grab lists. She's always got a pretty decent win rate and a pretty decent use rate. She can play any role, whether that's lane, aggro, or gem carrier. So feel free to play Pam no matter what the map is. And you don't have to worry that you're not going to fit into a team comp or anything like that. Alright, with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's talk about the top 5 meta brawlers. Alright, so the first brawler I want to go over is Carl. Right now, Carl has a 57.2% win rate and a 3.4% use rate. That's good for having the 3rd highest win rate in Gem Grab and the 11th highest use rate in Gem Grab. Now, he's 11th and he's still making the top 5 because he's the first brawler outside of the top 10 in use rates that ranked in the top 10 of win rates, so that's why he's at number 5 in the meta list. So I said this after Carl got his 2 buffs, and they just recently buffed his super recharge rate as well, but Carl is a super solid brawler. He's basically got no bad matchups. He can use his range to deal with close range brawlers by keeping his distance, and he's got a super to get in close on long range brawlers and take them out pretty quickly. So those 2 things make him a really solid lane/aggro brawler depending on what his matchup's going to be. The only thing is that when you play Carl, you gotta watch out for what's gonna knock you out of your super in case you use it, whether that's a Piper gadget, a Brock gadget, a Bull charge, anything that's gonna cause knockback you need to be wary of, because if you use your super and then they knock you right out of it before you can charge your super again, you're pretty much just wasting time and you're gonna get yourself killed. So yeah, Carl's just super solid in Gem Grab. Just make sure you're playing to his strength depending on whatever matchup you're faced against. Alright, moving on to number 4. Number 4 on the meta list is going to be Jean. Right now, Jean has a 53.9% win rate, which is 10th, and a 4.4% use rate, which is 6th. Jean has always been a super solid Gem Grab brawler because of the way his super can just turn the tide of a match so quickly. And they just recently buffed that super, so now you charge it even quicker. You only got to land 3 full charge shots to get it. And the fact that his super is an auto-aim super that almost always lands as long as you're in the right range, you're pretty much set as soon as you get your super and you pick your target that you want to pull over to you and get a kill on. The big thing with Jean is you got to watch out for Mr. P's, because Mr. P can pretty much hard counter Jean because of the way his spawner works and the fact that he can shoot over walls and hide from Jean and make it impossible for him to charge a super. So if you face against a Mr. P, you got to watch out for where the porters are spawning and try to charge your super on somebody else so you can pull Mr. P to you, and try not to let him keep his turret up so his spawners aren't countering you. Alright, moving on to number 3. Number 3 is going to be a surprise to me, actually, and it's going to be Penny. She has a 54.2% win rate, which is 8th, and a 4.3% use rate, which is 7th. Now, I'm surprised that Penny actually ranks so high in this because she's just like an average brawler, in my opinion. But apparently she's above average, whether it's the map rotation or just the meta right now. Or maybe that new gadget is really helping her a lot. I actually personally can't really figure out how to use it effectively, but that's just me. But anyway, I know that Penny has decent range and her mortar can exert a lot of pressure on an enemy team once you get it down. So she can work as a pretty decent mid brawler as long as you're picking up gems and keeping your distance. And then once you get your mortar down, make sure you try to keep that mortar in a decent spot that's going to defend pretty much the mid and back. That way enemies have a harder time moving up on you. Another thing that I guess could help Penny is the fact that Mr. P was pretty prevalent, and she pretty much hard counters Mr. P, because if he's trying to hide behind his spawners, he's going to take the splash damage from her shots. So yeah, Penny's got pretty decent win rates, use rates, and maybe the meta works pretty well for her, so give her a shot. Alright, and like that, we're on to number 2. And number 2 is a brawler that I talk about all the time because I think she is overpowered, and that's gonna be Tara. Tara has a 56.5% win rate, which is 4th highest, and a 6.19% use rate, which is 3rd highest. And of course she's going to be on this list. She's got 3 buffs in a row, and like I've said many times, she is super strong right now. Her attack is really good, her health is really good, and now her supercharge is even faster, which is arguably the strongest part of her kit. Tara is typically played as a lane brawler, so what you do is you poke damage until you get your super, then you use your super to win your lane, and then you move over and help pinch in the mid, and maybe over to the side lane if you do manage to win the other 2 lanes. And like I've said a couple times, but I just want to iterate, I don't dislike Tara. She's actually one of my favorite brawlers in the game, but I just think she's a little overpowered and that they've overbuffed her over this course of the last few months. And I won't be shocked if when we do other game modes, she's going to pop up in places she probably shouldn't be either. But let's end this on a happy note. Tara's really good. Make sure you play her in gem grab, make sure you're playing aggro, and make sure you're getting your super and getting those team sucks and getting a lot of kills with her. Alright, and we're on to the number 1 meta brawler for gem grab, and actually this is another one I'm actually a little surprised about. It's actually going to be Mr. P. Mr. P has the number 1 win rate at 59%, and the 6th highest use rate at 3.55%. And the only reason I'm really surprised about this is because Mr. P's gotten a handful of nerfs over the last 2 months. Even though those nerfs were only to his super, I thought it would affect him a little bit more, but apparently in gem grab he's still pretty dominant. I mean, of course his porters are still going to make people waste ammo, and with the HP nerf to his base, I guess that kind of helps, but I mean, most of the time you should be playing your base in a defensive position, kind of like a penny mortar, so I don't know why that was really necessary. But overall, his kit's still really solid. He's got a decent amount of range, especially if you're running handle with care, and you can shoot over walls, so that's always a benefit. People can't hide on you. They have to back up and give up their lane if they're laned against you, or if you're in the mid. And then, of course, like I said, with the porters spawning and wasting their ammo, that's always going to help you because you're going to have the ammo advantage when you actually choose to engage with them. So I guess after talking through it, Mr. P's still a pretty solid brawler. The super nerfs weren't really that big of a deal to him, apparently, and these win rates show it. So try out Mr. P in gem grab and let me know how it works out for you. Okay, we're going to be moving on to Brawl Ball, and I want to do a disclaimer real quick. Brawl Ball's meta list is kind of a mess this season. So I did the top 10, and only 2 brawlers actually landed in both the top 10 of win rate and pick rate, so I had to extend the list all the way down to 15, and as far as win rates, it's 16. That's because the 16th brawler actually landed in the top 10 of use rates. So when this happens with these lists, I get a little unsure of the picks, but I mean, looking over it, I think it's a pretty solid set of brawlers, so I feel comfortable presenting them to you. But if you disagree with any of these picks, just let me know down in the comments, we can talk about it. Like I've said many times, doing these meta breakdowns this way isn't always going to be perfect, so I try to do it the best I can. So if you ever disagree, just feel free to let me know, and we can always talk about it. Anyway, for Brawl Ball, because I had to extend these lists so much, I'm not going to actually have honorable mentions, so we're just going to hop right into the top 5. And number 5 is actually going to be Max. Now, Max has a 53.8% win rate, which is 16th in win rates, and she has a 3.3% use rate, which is 10th on the list for use rates. So, in my opinion, Max is one of the top 10 brawlers in the game right now. She does super solid damage. She's got a super fast movement speed. Her super is actually really useful, especially in a mode like Brawl Ball, where you can get up the field really quickly, and you can help your teammates get up the field faster. And they just buffed her super, so you only have to land 3 full shots instead of having to land 4 full shots, so that's a huge help for her too. And then you take into consideration something like her star powers, which either charge her super just by moving, or it increases her reload speed, which in essence increases her damage per second. When you consider things like really good damage and really good mobility for both you and your teammates, and just a good kit overall, of course she's going to be good in a mode like Brawl Ball, so give her a shot, let me know how you do with her. Okay, moving on to the number 4 brawler in Brawl Ball. Number 4 is going to be Poco. Right now, Poco has a 54.2% win rate, which is 13th on the list, and a 5.08% use rate, which is 2nd on the list. Poco is another brawler that's pretty common on this Brawl Ball list. He basically gets carried by tanks, so as long as you're playing with tanks with Poco and you're running Z-Capo, you're going to have a pretty good success rate because it's going to be really hard for your opponents to take down those tanks when you're healing them the entire time. But that's also one of Poco's biggest drawbacks, is that he's pretty team dependent. you almost always have to have at least one tank on your team to have great success with him, because he doesn't have the DPS himself to actually stop goals and to get kills. So if you're jumping into games with randoms with Poco, if you don't have tanks, you may struggle. Just be aware of that. And if you are actually with a team, make sure somebody's running at least a high HP brawler like a BB or a Primo or a Bull or a Frank, something like that, because it's gonna greatly boost not only your success rate, but theirs as well. Okay, moving on to number 3 in the Brawl Ball list, we got B. B has the 12th highest win rates at 54.3% and the 14th highest use rates at 2.67%. So B, one of the most obnoxious brawlers in the game, can basically 2 or 3 shot just about any brawler that isn't a tank. And if she is faced against a tank, she's going to have a great time because they're so easy to land her shots on. It's just going to cause her to feed on the tanks, and then if there's a squishy brawler, she can get her super shot from the tank and then shoot the squishy brawler and take them out pretty much right away. Then you take into consideration all the slowing in her kit now because of her super and her gadget. Those are both really solid for just controlling the area right around your goal and getting kills, because as soon as somebody steps in either her zone or you hit them with her super, they're basically screwed because you can auto-aim your shots at that point. And then instant B-load is pretty much cheating because it makes it so you don't have to be quite as accurate. So that's another bonus that she has going for her. Overall, B's pretty solid in Brawl Ball because of her defensive capabilities and the fact that she can pretty much 2 or 3 shot a lot of the brawlers that are popular in Brawl Ball. The only thing to be aware of when you're playing B is that she's kind of map dependent, because you don't want to play her on maps that have a lot of walls. It's going to make it really hard for you to land your shots, but on the more open maps, feel free to play her as much as you want, because she can definitely dominate in those style of maps. Alright, and we're moving on to number 2 in the Brawl Ball list, and this one's actually a little bit of a surprise to me. Number 2 is going to be Frank. I didn't actually think Frank was really that good in the meta right now, but he's one of the only 2 brawlers that made it in the top 10 of both win and pick rates, so he ranks number 2 on the list. Right now, Frank's holding the 7th highest win rate at 55.8% and the 5th highest use rate at 3.77%. So, of course, Frank by himself is a pretty solid brawler. He's got the most HP in the game. His super is really devastating if you can land it on 1 or 2 people and charge it right back after you land your super. He also has a wall breaking ability in his super, so that's also a lot of utility, especially on maps that you want to open up for your teammates. But one of the big things that I think gets Frank onto this list is the fact that Poco is so prevalent in the meta right now. Anytime a Frank and a Poco are paired together, they're going to dominate, because Frank has the most HP in the game, and Poco can just heal him for an obnoxious amount, while also trying to do chip damage from afar. Frank's going to take the aggro, he's going to be up in people's faces trying to get shots, and Poco's going to stand behind him, healing him with decapo, healing him with his gadget, healing him with his super, and Frank's just going to soak up all that damage, and it's not even going to look like you made a dent on him because of Poco's healing abilities. So, in my opinion, if you want to play Frank in Brawl Ball, make sure you bring a Poco with you, because you are going to have a great success rate if you pair those 2 together, just because of Frank's pure HP dominance and Poco's ability to just keep him topped off the entire match. And just like that, we're on to the number 1 brawler in Brawl Ball, and if you can't guess who it is, of course, it's going to be Tara. It's not a big shocker to me. Tara's always been really good in Brawl Ball, and this is no surprise. Right now, she has the 4th highest win rate at 56.1% and the 4th highest use rate at 4.03%. So, like I just said, Brawl Ball has always been one of Tara's best modes, and especially now that she's so strong, she's going to dominate in it. Her super is just extremely devastating, especially in a mode like Brawl Ball where the idea of lanes can break down so quickly because people tend to follow the ball so much more. You can definitely get a lot of team wipes after you get your super just by putting your super right around the ball when people start to clump up to try to pick it up. And then on top of that, you can use her super as wall break if you really need to, just in case you want to open up the map just a little bit. However, I would be really wary about that because you can get so much more value from her super by using it on an opponent instead of just using it to break a wall. But if you need to break a wall by the goal right at the end of the game to get that last goal that's going to win, feel free to do that. But for all the same reasons she's good in Gem Grab, she's really good in Brawl Ball. Good damage, good HP, good super, just overall solid brawler. Make sure you play her in Brawl Ball because, like I said, it's one of her best modes, so go ahead and dominate with her. Alright, well that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about these picks down in the comments. I'm pretty confident in all of them. The only one that I was super iffy on was Frank in Brawl Ball, but like I said, he's handcuffed to Poco, so of course his win rates are going to be inflated a little bit because of that. I think the next one I'm going to do is Siege and Hot Zone. I'm going to try to have that out, if not tomorrow, then the next day. And then I'm trying to get Heist and Bounty done by Friday, so be on the lookout for those 2 videos. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.